My children told me, "Dad, this Christmas will be unforgettable." They sent flowers. They hired a buffet for 16 people. They set the most beautiful table I had seen in years. I put on my best suit and waited for them from 6 in the evening. They never arrived. At midnight, my neighbor showed me a photo. There they were, toasting in another house, laughing, as if I didn't exist. But what I discovered later, what I found hidden in my own house, made that Christmas unforgettable. For them, I spent 3 Christmases alone watching TV with a plate of leftovers on my lap. Linda died 3 years ago. My children have their own lives. Jessica, 52, married to a businessman. Daniel, 48, always busy with his job. Lisa, 45, divorced and dependent on everyone. On December 15th, a Tuesday, I was drinking cold coffee in the kitchen when the phone rang. It was Jessica. "Dad, this year we will do it differently. A dinner at your house, all of us together." I stood there with the cup in my hand, not knowing what to say. "Are you serious, honey?" She laughed. That laugh she had when she was a little girl. "Of course, Dad. It is time, don't you think?" I hung up, and I stood there, wondering if I had heard right, or if loneliness was playing a cruel joke on me. The next day I opened WhatsApp, and there it was, a message from Daniel. "Count us in, old man. We will bring the kids." I read it 5 times. Old man. He hadn't called me that in years. Before, he said it with affection. Now it sounded distant. But he said he would bring the kids. Even Camilla, my 16-year-old granddaughter who barely spoke to me. I replied, "I will be waiting for you." I added a heart emoji. I regretted it. I deleted it. I put it back. I sent the message. I saw the 2 gray check marks appear, then they turned blue. He saw the message, but he didn't reply. I sat in the armchair in the living room, the one where Linda used to spend her afternoons knitting. I looked at the ceiling, at the moisture stains I never fixed, and I thought, maybe this time it is true. On Friday, 3 days later, Lisa arrived with Matthew. I heard the doorbell while I was washing the breakfast dishes. I opened the door and the boy hugged my legs. He smelled of cheap detergent and cookies. "Grandpa," I lifted him up even though my back hurt. 7 years old. The last time I saw him, he was 5, and he still cried when his mom left him with me. Now he was bigger, quieter. Lisa entered behind him with deep dark circles under her eyes and messy hair. "Dad, Jessica is organizing everything. It will be beautiful." I wanted to believe her, but there was something in her voice, something tired, something forced. Matthew ran to the shelf. "Grandpa, do you still have the train?" He pointed to the wooden train that Linda bought him at a market. "Of course, son, it is right here waiting for you." Lisa stood by the door, looking at her cell phone. She didn't look me in the eye once. 5 days after the call, Jessica started sending me photos. The first one arrived at 7 in the morning, a centerpiece with golden candles and pine branches. "Do you like this, Dad? I am choosing it for you." I was taking my diabetes pill when the phone vibrated. I opened the photo. "It was beautiful, elegant, expensive," I replied. "It is lovely, honey." She sent a red heart, then another photo. Ivory tablecloths, napkins folded like swans. "Everything has to be perfect for you, Dad." I saved every photo as if they were jewels. I showed them to Valerie, the lady who helps me at home, when she arrived at 9. She cleaned her glasses, looked at the photos in silence. Too much silence. "It is nice, Mr. David," she said finally, but she didn't smile. I should have asked why, but I didn't, because I was afraid of ruining the moment. A week before, Valerie took me to the mall to buy clothes. I hadn't entered a store in 4 years. The smell of new fabric made me dizzy. "Mr. David, you have to look handsome. If there is going to be a party, you are the king of the night." The salesman, a young man with gel in his hair, showed me suits. One black, one gray. I pointed to a navy blue one. Linda used to say that color made me look younger. I tried it on in the fitting room. The pants were loose. I had lost weight. The jacket hung from my shoulders, but when I saw myself in the mirror, for a second I saw the man I was 20 years ago. I came out. Valerie applauded. "You look very handsome, Mr. David." I paid with my card, $400. The salesman wrapped the suit in tissue paper. We left. Valerie was quiet on the bus. She looked out the window. "Is something wrong?" I asked her. She shook her head, but I saw how she squeezed the bag in her hand. 5 days before Christmas, Jessica called me at 11 at night. I was already in bed with the lights off. "Honey, did something happen?" She sounded excited. Too excited. "Dad, I hired a luxury buffet. I want tonight to be perfect. You deserve it." I felt a lump in my throat. "Honey, you didn't have to spend so much." "Dad, please, let me do this for you. You always did everything for us." I hung up. I stayed there in the dark, listening to the crickets outside. I thought about all the times I paid their tuition, their weddings, their debts. And now she wanted to give me something back. I covered my face with my hands, and I cried, not from sadness, but from relief, because I thought this moment would never come. 2 days before, Valerie and I cleaned the house from 7 in the morning. We mopped, dusted, washed windows. I took out the big dining table, the one we only used for birthdays and Christmases when Linda was alive. It was heavy. My back hurt moving it. Valerie helped me push it. We put on the white tablecloth that Linda embroidered 30 years ago. It still had a wine stain from some forgotten dinner. I counted the chairs. 16. I arranged them slowly. I imagined who would sit in each one. Jessica here, Daniel there. The grandchildren close to me. Valerie watched me from the kitchen. Her eyes were shiny. "Mr. David, you are a good man." She said it with a voice so sad that it scared me. "Why do you say that, Valerie?" She turned around. "For nothing, Mr. David, just... it is true." Christmas Eve. The doorbell rang at 10 in the morning. I opened it. It was a delivery man with 3 huge floral arrangements. White roses, red carnations. The scent filled the entire entrance. "David Miller?" I nodded. The man handed me a tablet to sign. "Who sent them?" "Jessica Miller." I almost fell over. I carried the arrangements inside. I looked for the card. I opened it with trembling hands. "For the best father. We love you. Jessica, Daniel, Lisa." I read it out loud. "We love you." When was the last time I read those words? I called Mr. Thomas, my neighbor. He came dragging his feet. He looked at the flowers. He read the card. His face didn't change. "David," he said with that raspy voice he has, "take care." He left without saying more. I stood staring at the closed door. What did he mean? But I didn't have time to think, because there was much to do. At 9 in the morning on the 24th, a white truck with golden letters arrived. Premium Catering Chicago. 2 guys got out, one young, dark-haired, with tattoos on his arms. "I'm Ethan. He is Luke." They started unloading boxes, steel trays, crystal glasses, bottles of wine with labels I had never seen, turkey, ham, cod, salads in sealed containers, desserts covered with transparent plastic. I stood at the door, watching them go in and out. "Is all this for today?" Ethan nodded while arranging a tray on the table. "Yes, sir, your daughter hired the premium package. Food for 16 people. I was speechless. I thought my children spent a fortune. Ethan looked at me. "You must be very important to your family, Mr. David." I smiled because in that moment I believed it. At 3 in the afternoon I showered with the new soap I bought. I shaved slowly, careful not to cut myself. I put on the cologne, the one Linda gave me for my last birthday and that I never used. I dressed in the blue suit. I stood in front of the mirror. The pants were still loose, but I looked dignified. Valerie entered the room. "Come, Mr. David, let me help you with the tie." I was always a disaster with knots. She fixed it in silence. Too much silence. When she finished, she took a step back. She looked me up and down, and suddenly, without warning, her eyes filled with tears. "Mr. David, you are a good man. Never forget that." I got scared. "Valerie, what is wrong?" She shook her head. "Nothing, just Don't forget it." She left the room. I stayed there, wondering what on earth had just happened. At 5 in the afternoon, everything was ready. The table set, 16 places, the candles lit, small golden flames trembling with the air. The house smelled of cinnamon, pine, and roasted meat. I sat in the living room armchair. I looked at the Christmas lights I hung in the window, the photos of Linda on the mantelpiece, her smile frozen in time. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt that my house was becoming a home again. "Linda," I whispered, "I wish you were here to see this." I opened my eyes. I looked at the clock. 5:10. Less than an hour left. My hands were shaking. I didn't know if it was from excitement or fear, because deep down, very deep down, a little voice told me, "What if they don't come?" But I silenced it. I silenced it because I needed to believe. At 6 o'clock sharp, I called Jessica. The phone rang 3 times before she answered. "Hello?" Her voice sounded rushed. In the background, I heard music, laughter, voices I didn't recognize. "Honey, what time are you arriving?" Brief silence. Then, "Oh, Dad, in an hour. We are just finishing getting ready." Something in her tone I didn't like. She sounded distracted, as if she was doing something else while talking to me. "Where are you?" Another pause. "At home, Dad. Relax. We are leaving soon." And she hung up without saying goodbye. I was left with the phone in my hand, staring at the black screen. Why was there music if they were getting ready? Why were so many people talking? I shook my head. "Relax, David. It is Christmas. Everyone is busy." I put the phone away. I went to the kitchen. Ethan was arranging the last trays. "They are almost here," I told him, more to myself than to him. At 6:30, I walked through the house for the 10th time that afternoon. I checked the silverware. It was perfectly aligned. I touched a napkin. It was well folded. I peeked into the kitchen. Everything in order. I went back to the living room. I looked out the window. The street was quiet. A stray dog trotted by. The neighbors' lights were on. Shadows moving inside. Families together. Eating. Laughing. I sat down again. Ethan appeared from the kitchen. He was holding a glass. "Mr. David, would you like some wine while you wait?" I looked at the glass, the dark red liquid. I shook my head. "No, we will all toast together when they arrive." He nodded, but I saw him exchange a look with Luke, a look that said something I didn't want to understand. At 7:15, a message arrived. I opened it quickly. "Jessica. Dad, small delay. Daniel had to pick something up. We are on our way." I read the message twice. Small delay. "It is okay." It was normal. I took a deep breath. I wrote, "I'm waiting for you." I sent the message. The 2 check marks turned blue in seconds. She saw the message, but she didn't reply. 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. I left the phone on the table. I looked at the candles. They had already gone down an inch. The wax dripped down the sides, forming white tears on the silver candelabras. I got up. I went to the kitchen. I drank water. My mouth was dry. My hands were sweating. "Relax," I repeated to myself. "They are coming." At 7:45, I noticed that Valerie was sitting in the corner of the kitchen, on the small stool where she always sits to peel potatoes. She had her cell phone in her hands. She was typing something. Deleting. Typing again. Her fingers were trembling. I approached. "Valerie, are you okay?" She looked up. Her eyes were red, swollen, as if she had been crying. "Yes, Mr. David, everything is fine." But her voice broke at the end. "Are you sure?" She nodded fast, too fast. She put the phone in her apron pocket. She stood up. I'm going to check the drinks." She walked away before I could say anything else. I stood there with a bad feeling growing in my stomach, but I ignored it because there was still hope. At 8:30, my cell phone vibrated. An audio message from Daniel. I opened it. "Old man, leaving now. Sorry, traffic is terrible. Christmas, you know." His voice sounded strange, rushed. But in the background, I heard something that made me stop. Music. Not radio music. Live music. Like a party. And then very softly, a woman's voice, laughing. I listened to the audio again. I paid attention. Yes, there were definitely people. Many voices. Where was he? In the car or somewhere else? My heart started beating faster. No, I told myself, don't think about that. He is on his way. They are just passing by somewhere. I put the phone away, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. At 9, Ethan approached with his hands in his pockets. He looked at the table. The turkey that was no longer steaming, the sauces that had solidified, the mashed potatoes with a dry crust on top. Mister, David, the food is getting cold. Do you want us to warm it up again? I looked at him. He had a kind expression, but also sad, as if he knew something I refused to see. No, I said. My voice came out harder than I wanted. They must be arriving now. He didn't insist. He just nodded. He went back to the kitchen, walking slowly. I heard him talking to Luke, whispers. I didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. They pitied me, and I hated that. I hated being the old man people pity. At 9:45, my cell phone vibrated again. Lisa. Dad, sorry, we got delayed, but we're almost there. Love you. Those 2 words. Love you. I read them over and over again. When was the last time Lisa told me that? Not in a message? In person? I didn't remember. I replied, I'm waiting for you, daughter, with everything ready. I sent the message. I saw the check marks. Gray, then blue. She saw the message. 1 minute, 2, 5, 10. No answer. I left the phone on the table. I observed the 16 empty chairs, the glasses shining under the candlelight, the plates waiting like me, and I felt something break inside me, something small but important. At 10:30, Valerie appeared with a plate, ham, a little salad, bread. She put it in front of me. Mr. David, please, eat even a little bit. I looked at the plate. The food looked cold, sad. I want to wait for my children. My voice sounded hollow. She knelt beside my chair. She took my hand. Her hands were rough, calloused. Mr. David, please. There were tears in her eyes. Why was she crying? What did she know that I didn't know? I pulled my hand away. They are going to come, Valerie. They promised me. She closed her eyes, nodded, stood up, took the plate back to the kitchen, and I stayed there, alone, again. At 11 at night, I heard noise in the kitchen. Ethan and Luke cleaning up, the clinking of silverware, the sliding of trays being stacked, plastic wrapping. I didn't move from my chair. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, staring at the front door, waiting, just waiting. One of the candles went out, then another. The living room darkened little by little. Shadows grew on the walls, and I was still there, like a statue, like a fool. I thought of Linda, of how she would tell me, David, leave it now, come eat. But Linda wasn't there, and neither were my children. At 11:40, the cell phone vibrated. I grabbed it so fast it slipped. I caught it before it fell. Jessica, a message. Dad, I am so sorry. There was a last-minute unforeseen event. We couldn't go. We will explain tomorrow. Sorry. I read the message. Once, twice, 3 times. The words moved on the screen. We couldn't go. We will explain tomorrow. Sorry. Sorry? Sorry? I left the cell phone on the table. I stared at the ceiling, the moisture stains, the cracks I never fixed, and I felt how everything I had been holding for 15 days, for 3 years, collapsed. Slow, silent, painful. At midnight, the bells of St. John's Church began to ring. Dong, dong, dong. 12 slow bells. Christmas, officially. I looked around. The table for 16. The candles almost extinct. The cold plates. The empty glasses. The photos of Linda looking at me from the mantelpiece, with those eyes that no longer shined. And me. Just me. In the silence between one bell and another, I heard something outside. Footsteps. Steps on the dry leaves of the garden. My heart jumped. I got up. I walked towards the door. My legs were shaking. I opened it. But outside were not my children. It was Mr. Thomas, with a bottle of wine in one hand and a look that said everything. Mr. Thomas entered without me inviting him. He dragged his feet, as always. 83 years carried in each step. He brought a bottle of red wine with the label half peeled off. He put it on the table. "You are not going to spend this night alone, David." His voice sounded raspy, tired but firm. I stood by the door, still with my hand on the doorknob. "Thomas, don't you have to—" He raised his hand. He cut me off. "Sit down." And he sat first, in the chair I had prepared for Daniel. He opened the wine with an old corkscrew he took out of his jacket. The cork came out with a dry pop. He poured 2 glasses, handed me one. "Let's toast, David, for us, those who are still here." I took the glass. My fingers shook so much the wine moved in circles. We toasted. The crystal rang, and I drank. It tasted bitter, like everything that night. 15 minutes later, Ethan appeared from the kitchen. He was still wearing the white apron from the buffet. He stood by the table, hands in his pockets. "Mr. David." He paused. He looked at Mr. Thomas, then at me. "My shift ended 2 hours ago, but if you allow me, I would like to stay." I looked at him without understanding. Why would he want to stay? He was a stranger, a boy who came to work, nothing more. "You don't have to do that, son." Ethan shook his head. He approached, pulled out a chair, the same one I had put for Jessica. He sat down. "I want to do it, Mr. David." There was something in his eyes, something sad, something I recognized because I carried it inside too. Loneliness, that loneliness that hurts in the bones. Ethan poured himself wine, took a long sip, left the glass on the table. "My father died last year, in November, a month before Christmas." His voice broke a little at the end. He cleared his throat. Continued. "I spent last Christmas alone, in my apartment, with a sandwich bought at the gas station watching TV. He paused, looked at his glass, and I swore that if one day I saw someone going through the same thing, I wouldn't leave him alone. I stayed silent. I didn't know what to say. Words got stuck in my throat. Mr. Thomas refilled Ethan's glass. "You are a good boy." Ethan smiled, sad, but he smiled. Luke, the other server, came out of the kitchen carrying a tray with clean plates. He left it on the table. "If we are going to have dinner, let's do it right." He started serving. Turkey, ham, salad, mashed potatoes, everything that had gotten cold. Valerie appeared with napkins. She distributed them in silence. She sat in the chair I had put for Lisa. 4 strangers sitting at my table in my children's chairs, and me there, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Mr. Thomas raised his glass. "For those who are here, not for those who promised and didn't arrive." We all raised our glasses, toasted, and started eating, at first in silence. Only the sound of silverware against plates, chewing slowly, as if we had all the time in the world. Half an hour later, Mr. Thomas started telling a story. Something about a donkey that escaped when he was young. An absurd story, ridiculous. But he told it with so much detail that Luke started laughing. Then Ethan, even Valerie cracked a smile. I listened to them. And for a second, just a second, I forgot where I was. I forgot that my children hadn't come. I forgot the empty table. I forgot the pain. I laughed. A small laugh, shy but real. Mr. Thomas looked at me, nodded, as if saying, "See, David, you can still laugh." And he was right. I still could. Another half hour passed. We were already on the 2nd bottle of wine. This one Luke brought from the kitchen. 6 bottles were left over. It would be a waste not to drink them. We were talking about football. Luke turned out to be a fan of the Bears. Mr. Thomas, too. They started arguing about a game from 20 years ago. Ethan and I just listened. I defended the Packers. I was always a Packers fan. Linda used to make fun of me every time they lost. "Okay, David, accept that they are terrible." And I would get angry. But she laughed. That laugh that filled the whole house. I looked at Linda's photo on the mantelpiece, her frozen smile, and I felt a hole in my chest. But this time I wasn't alone with that hole. Valerie was quiet. Too quiet. She moved the food on her plate without really eating it. I observed her. Her eyes were red, swollen, as if she had cried a lot. "Valerie, are you okay?" She looked up. She looked at me, and for a moment I thought she was going to say something important, something that needed to come out. But she shook her head. "I'm fine, Mr. David." She put down the fork, wiped her hands on the napkin. "It's just that I have to talk to you, but not now." Her voice trembled. "When?" She looked at the others, then at me. "Tomorrow. Tomorrow I will tell you everything." And she said no more. She got up, went to the bathroom. I heard her crying behind the closed door, and I knew something bad was coming. At 2 a.m, we were still there. The conversation had changed. Now we talked about deeper things. Ethan told how his father worked 16 hours a day in a mechanic shop, how he never complained, how one day he simply didn't wake up. Stroke, 58 years old. "He was a good man," said Ethan. "He never said no to anyone." He said it with pride, but also with rage. And in the end, no one went to his funeral. Only me, and 2 guys from the shop. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "That is why I'm here, Mr. David. Because my dad was, like you, a good man, and good men don't deserve to be alone." I felt a lump in my throat, because I saw Linda in those words. Pain recognizes pain. At 2:30, Mr. Thomas got up. His knees cracked when standing. "It is time to go." He walked towards the door. I followed him. Before leaving, he turned around. He looked me straight in the eye. "David, your children didn't deserve this dinner." He paused. His face became serious, more serious than usual. "But someday you will understand why they did this." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He shook his head. "You will know. Be patient." He left. The door closed behind him. I stood there looking at the closed door. "You will understand why they did this." What the hell did that mean? What did Thomas know that I didn't know? I went back to the table. Ethan and Luke were clearing the plates. Valerie was putting the leftover food in plastic containers. I sat down. I watched them work in silence, and I felt something strange. Gratitude. Because these strangers did what my own family didn't do. They stayed, they shared, they accompanied me. Ethan approached, put a hand on my shoulder. "Mr. David, if you need anything, here's my number." He handed me a napkin with a number written in blue ink. Anything at any time. I took the napkin, folded it, put it in my jacket pocket. "Thank you, son," he nodded. "To you, for letting us stay." They left at 3 a.m. Valerie was the last. Before leaving, she hugged me, tight, like she had never done. "Mr. David, tomorrow we talk, please. Don't hate me when you know the truth." She let go, ran out. I saw her walking away down the empty street. The truth? What truth? I closed the door. I was left alone. Again. But this time it was different. Because I had eaten. I had laughed. I had shared with people who chose to be there. Not by blood, but by humanity. I looked at the table. The smell of food, wine, extinguished candles was still there. And in the middle of the silence, Mr. Thomas's phrase kept resonating. "You will understand why they did this." And I felt fear of what I was about to discover. I woke up on the sofa. I didn't remember lying down there. The sun was coming through the window, hurting my eyes. I looked at the clock. 8 a.m. My head hurt. Hangover from the wine. I sat up slowly. Everything hurt. My back, my knees, my soul. I looked for my cell phone. It was on the floor. The screen showed 47 notifications, 47 messages, all from the same night, all while I was sleeping. I opened WhatsApp and started reading. Jessica. "Dad, forgive me. It was terrible what happened. There was an emergency." Daniel. "Old man, I will make it up to you. I promise." Lisa. "Dad, I'm crying from guilt. Please forgive me. I kept scrolling down. More messages, more apologies, more empty promises. The words repeated themselves as if they had copied and pasted them, as if they had rehearsed them. I read every message slowly, looking for something that sounded real, something that sounded honest. But I didn't find it. All the apologies had the same tone, the same structure. Sorry, Dad. There was an unforeseen event. We will make it up to you. Unforeseen? What unforeseen event can make 3 people cancel at the same time? What emergency is so big that they couldn't even call before? I left the cell phone. I got up. I went to the kitchen. Valerie had left coffee made. It was still warm. I poured myself a cup. I drank it standing by the window. Outside, life went on as normal. Neighbors taking out the trash, a boy walking his dog, and me there, with 47 lies on my phone. At 10, the doorbell rang. I opened without asking who it was. Jessica was standing at the entrance. She was wearing a blue dress, perfect makeup, styled hair, and in her hands a huge box wrapped in gold paper. She hugged me before I could say anything. Dad, I'm so sorry. She was crying, or pretending to cry. I wasn't sure. She let go of me, entered without waiting for an invitation, left the box on the table. Dad, it was horrible. The car broke down on the highway. We were stranded, no signal, nothing. She looked at me, expecting me to say something. I just observed her, observed every detail. Her dress had no wrinkles. Her shoes shined. Her hair smelled like a salon. She didn't look like someone who had spent the night stranded on a highway. Where did the car break down? I asked. My voice came out cold, colder than I expected. Jessica blinked. On the highway to Milwaukee. I nodded. And how did you get back? She laughed nervously. Oh, well, we called a tow truck. It took hours. It was a disaster, Dad. I got close to her. I looked her straight in the eye. Those eyes that as a child looked at me with admiration. Now I only saw... What? Guilt? Fear? Why didn't you call me? She lowered her gaze. I didn't have a signal, Dad. I already told you. Lie. I knew it in that moment. Because Jessica could never lie to me, looking me in the eye. She always lowered her gaze. Like now. The doorbell rang again. Jessica went to open it. It was Daniel. He was wearing jeans and a white shirt. Expensive watch on his wrist. Dark glasses, even though there was no strong sun. In his hand, a bag from a jewelry store. Old man, he gave me a pat on the shoulder, hard, as if nothing had happened. He entered, left the bag next to Jessica's gift, took out a small box, opened it, a watch, silver, elegant. For you, Dad, to make up for last night. I looked at him. I didn't even touch it. What happened, Daniel? He took off his glasses. What happened with what? His tone was defensive. Last night. Why didn't you come? He sighed, as if I were an annoying child. Dad, understand me. It was a serious family unforeseen event. I stared at him. What unforeseen event? Daniel hesitated. Just a second. But I noticed it. Paula, my wife, she felt bad. Very bad. We had to take her to the hospital. I nodded. And is she okay now? He relaxed. Yes, it passed. It was just a scare. I got close to him. Which hospital did you take her to? His face changed. Why do you ask that? I didn't answer. I just looked at him, waiting. To St. Joseph's Hospital. Lie. Paula had private insurance. She always went to Mercy Hospital. I told him. Daniel turned pale. Well, it is just that it was closed. It is Christmas, Dad. Another lie. Hospitals don't close on Christmas. And Daniel knew it. Jessica intervened. Dad, please. It is over. We are here now, right? Her voice sounded desperate, almost pleading. We came to apologize, to spend time with you. I looked at my 2 children standing in my living room, with their expensive gifts, their rehearsed excuses, their poorly constructed lies. Where were you last night? Silence. Daniel looked at Jessica. Jessica looked at the floor. "We already told you," Daniel murmured. "No," I said. My voice rose. "Tell me the truth. Where were you?" Jessica started crying. This time for real. "Dad, please." But she didn't finish the sentence because the doorbell rang again. It was Lisa and Matthew. The boy let go of his mom's hand and ran towards me. "Grandpa!" He hugged my legs. I lifted him up even though my back hurt. He smelled of soap, of innocence. "Matthew, my boy!" I squeezed him tight, too tight. He laughed. Lisa entered slowly. Her eyes were red. Swollen, she had cried a lot. She looked at Jessica, then at Daniel, as if waiting for instructions. Jessica signaled her with her head. Lisa approached me. "Dad, forgive me." Her voice broke. "Please, forgive me." And she collapsed, fell to her knees, crying. Matthew got scared. "Mom!" I put the boy on the floor. I knelt beside Lisa. "What, honey, what is wrong?" She shook her head. "I can't, Dad. I can't keep lying." Jessica approached quickly. "Lisa, stop." Her tone was in order. Lisa looked at her, scared. "But Jessica—" "Enough, Lisa." Daniel approached too. "Lisa, calm down." They lifted her up between the two of them, sat her on the sofa. Matthew stayed next to me, scared, confused. I bent down. I looked him in the eye. "Matthew, did you want to come last night?" He nodded, his eyes filled with tears. "Yes, Grandpa, I wanted to come. I told Mom. But she said no, that we had to go somewhere else." I felt something freeze inside me. "Where did you go?" Matthew opened his mouth. But Lisa screamed, "Matthew, shut up!" The boy got scared, started crying. At 2 p.m, they left, the three of them, with their gifts, with their promises to make it up to me next weekend, with their fake hugs, with their kisses on the cheek that I didn't feel. I closed the door. I stayed there standing, looking at the gifts on the table. Jessica's golden box, Daniel's watch, the teddy bear Lisa brought. I didn't open them. I didn't touch them. I just looked at them. And I felt nothing. Empty. I went to the kitchen. I poured myself water. I drank it slowly. And then the landline rang, the one almost nobody uses. I answered. "Mr. David Miller?" It was a woman's voice, professional. "Yes, this is him. We are calling from the bank. We are calling to confirm a charge of $5,000 made yesterday on your card ending in 3426. I felt the floor move. I asked the woman from the bank to repeat. "How much did you say?" My voice came out broken. She, with that forced patience that call center employees have, repeated, $5,000, Mr. Miller. Premium Catering Chicago, $3,000. La Rosa Florist, $1,000. Martinez Decorations, $1,200. Valley Wines and Liquors, $800. Every number was a stab wound. $3,000 on buffet, $1,000 on flowers. I paid for all that. I sat on the floor. Literally. My legs stopped supporting me. The phone still glued to my ear. "Mr. Miller, are you still there?" I cleared my throat. "Yes, I am still here." My throat was dry, as if I had swallowed sand. "You authorized these purchases." I closed my eyes. "No, I didn't authorize anything." The employee typed something. I heard the clicking of her keyboard through the phone. "I see that the charges were made on December 23rd at 11:14 in the morning, all from the same IP, a computer in Naperville." Naperville, where Jessica lives. The record shows that the card was added to the system on December 15th, 10 days ago. The same day Jessica called me to tell me what she would do for the dinner. The same day it all started. "Do you want us to block the card, sir?" I didn't answer. I was doing mental calculations, trying to remember. When did she ask for the card? "Mr. Miller?" The woman's voice brought me back. Yes, block it." I hung up. I stayed sitting on the kitchen floor. The refrigerator hummed. It was the only sound. I took my wallet out of my pants. Trembling hands, I opened it. There was my card. Visa ending in 3426. The same one the bank mentioned. So they didn't steal it. They just used the data, the numbers, the expiration date, the security code. But how? How did they get that information? I got up. I went to the desk. I opened the drawer where I keep papers, old statements, receipts, and then I remembered. A little over 2 weeks ago, a Tuesday, 3 days before Jessica called to promise me dinner, Jessica came to visit me. She said she needed to buy a gift for Lisa for her birthday. Dad, can you lend me your card? Mine is blocked, and I need to buy it today. I gave it to her without thinking. She went out, came back an hour later, gave me the card back. Thanks, Dad. You are the best. And she kissed me on the forehead. In that hour, she took a photo of my card, wrote down the numbers, registered it in the buffet system, the florist, everything, and I didn't even suspect. Because she was my daughter. Because I trusted her. Because I was an idiot. I dialed her number. It rang 5 times. Voicemail. The number you dialed is not available. I hung up. I dialed again. Voicemail again. I sent a message. Honey, why did you pay for the buffet with my card? I saw how the check marks turned blue. She saw the message, but she didn't reply. 5 minutes. 10. 15. 40 minutes later, the reply arrived. Dad, it was a surprise. We were going to pay you back. Really. I read the message 3 times. We were going to pay you back. Past tense. As if they were no longer going to do it. I wrote. When? I sent the message. The check marks turned blue. She saw the message, but there was no answer. I waited an hour, staring at the screen, waiting for the 3 dots indicating someone is writing, but they didn't appear. Nothing. Silence. I dialed Daniel. Voicemail. Lisa. Voicemail. The 3 of them had blocked me, or turned off their phones, or simply ignored me. I sat in the desk chair, the same one where I sat to do accounts when Linda was alive, the same one where we planned vacations, where we filled out tax returns, where we were a family. Now I was just a stupid old man whose own children robbed him. I turned on the computer. It took ages to turn on. It is old. Like me. I opened the browser, logged into online banking, my username, my password. It took me 3 tries to remember it. I entered, went to transactions, scrolled down. December, November, October. And there they were. Purchases I didn't recognize. October 14th. Irene Boutique, $320. I never buy clothes in boutiques. November 2nd. Narcissus Beauty Salon, $480. I don't go to beauty salons. November 27th. Premium Wine Shop, $510. I don't drink expensive wine. I summed it up mentally. Almost $1,300 in 2 months, plus the $5,000 for the dinner. More than $6,000 that Jessica spent, without asking, without warning. Stealing? No, this wasn't stealing. Stealing is when a stranger takes something from you. This was worse. This was your own blood reaching into your wallet, taking advantage of your trust, using your name, your money, your love, and then lying to your face, crying, hugging you, saying, I love you, Dad, while they emptied your account. I closed the computer, rested my head in my hands, and I cried. Not from sadness, from rage, pure rage. Rage that burned me inside. Rage against them, against me, against everything. How did I not notice? How was I so blind, so stupid? Linda always checked the account statements. David, you have to check. People are tricky. But I never did, because I trusted. And now I heard footsteps outside. Someone coming up the porch stairs. Then a soft knock on the door. Mr. David, it is me, Valerie. Her voice sounded trembling. I wiped my tears with the sleeve of my jacket. I was still wearing the blue suit. Already wrinkled, already dirty. I got up, opened the door. Valerie was standing there with red eyes, redder than in the morning. She was holding a plastic bag in her hand. Can I come in? I nodded. She entered, left the bag on the table. Sandwiches. 2 ham sandwiches wrapped in aluminum foil. I thought you hadn't eaten. I hadn't eaten. Not since... I didn't even remember. But I wasn't hungry. Thank you, Valerie. She didn't move. She stood by the door. Mr. David, I have to talk to you. I looked at her. There was something different in her expression. something decided, as if she had made an important decision. "Sit down." She shook her head. "I prefer to stand, in case you fire me after what I am going to tell you." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" Valerie took a deep breath, brought her hands to her face, left them there for a few seconds, then lowered them. "Mr. David, I didn't come to work with you just because I needed the job." Silence. "Your children hired me 6 months ago, but not just to take care of you. They asked me to look for things." I felt my stomach tighten. "What kind of things?" She bit her lip. "Documents, old papers from your work. They told me they were important, that they needed to find them." I sat down slowly because my legs were trembling again. Valerie continued. "They offered me double salary. $500 extra a month if I found the papers." Her voice broke. I accepted. "I needed the money, Mr. David. My mom is sick. Medicines are expensive. I just wanted to help her." I closed my eyes. "And did you find them?" She shook her head quickly. "No, never. I looked everywhere, the desk, the closet, under the bed, but I never found anything." I opened my eyes. I looked at her. "And what did they say?" Valerie took out her cell phone. "Better I show you." She opened WhatsApp, handed me the phone. There they were. Messages from Jessica, from Daniel, demanding her, pressuring her, threatening to fire her if she didn't find the documents. I read every message. "Valerie, did you find anything? Hurry up. We need those papers before the end of the year." That was from Jessica, another from Daniel. "If the documents don't appear, we are screwed. Valerie has to check everything. The basement, the attic, wherever." I kept scrolling down. More messages, more pressure, more threats. The last one was from 2 days ago, from Jessica. "Last chance, Valerie. If you don't find them this week, we fire you, and we don't pay your Christmas bonus." I looked up. Valerie was crying. "I didn't love you, Mr. David, really. But after knowing you, after seeing how you are, I couldn't continue. That is why I quit. And that is why I have to show you something else." She took out the cell phone, opened Instagram. This was posted by Gustavo's wife, last night at 10 at night. She handed me the phone, and what I saw destroyed me. It was a photo of a table, huge, with red and gold tablecloth, centerpieces with white candles, fine porcelain plates, crystal glasses full of wine, everything perfect, everything elegant, everything festive. But what made me stop breathing wasn't the table, it was the people. In the background, a little out of focus, but recognizable. My 3 children, Jessica in a blue dress, the same one she was wearing this morning when she came to apologize, Daniel in a white shirt and red tie, Lisa in a bright Christmas sweater, the 3 with glasses in hand, toasting. And the worst of all, was that they were smiling, not forced smiles, but real smiles, genuine, happy, as if nothing had happened, as if I didn't exist. I zoomed in on the photo with my fingers, looked for every detail. Behind my children there were more people I didn't know, men in expensive suits, women in party dresses, all toasting, all laughing. In the corner of the photo, part of a living room was visible, big, with a fireplace, with a giant Christmas tree, with golden lights everywhere. This wasn't an improvised meeting. This wasn't an emergency. This was a planned party, with time, with detail, with dedication, and my children chose to be there, instead of with me. I saw the time of the post. 21 hours ago, it was 8 p.m. when I saw Valerie's cell phone, so the photo was uploaded at 11 p.m. on the 24th, when I was sitting alone, waiting. I scrolled down to read the description. "Our family Christmas tradition. 15th consecutive years celebrating together. Stonebridge family and Soto clan. Christmas 2024. I read the phrase again. 15th consecutive year. 15 years. They had been going to that house for 15 Christmases. To that party. With those people. What was I doing? I counted mentally. 15 years ago was 2009. Linda was still alive. We used to have Christmas dinner at home. They came. Or so I thought. Did they come? I tried to remember. 2009, 2010, 2011. Some Christmases they did come, but they arrived late, left early, always with excuses. We have another dinner, Dad. The kids are tired. Tomorrow we have to wake up early. And I believed them, because they were my children, because I never imagined they were lying to me. I returned the cell phone to Valerie. I couldn't keep looking. It hurt, physically, as if someone had opened my chest and was squeezing my heart with their hands. Valerie put the phone away. I am sorry, Mr. David. I didn't know if I should show you, but I thought you had the right to know the truth. I nodded, without looking at her, looking at the floor, the carpet stains, a coffee stain from months ago, another from tomato sauce. Linda always said we had to change that carpet, but we never did, and now she wasn't here, and the carpet was still there. Old, stained, like me. It is the Stonebridge family, from Gustavo, Jessica's husband, and from Paula, Daniel's wife. My heart stopped. Stonebridge. The name resonated in my head like a bell. My God, I whispered. It is the same company, the same one I audited. Valerie looked at me without understanding. Do you know them? I nodded slowly. I know them. I know them very well. Construction company. The word resonated in my head. I worked in construction auditing years ago before retiring, and there was one that I investigated. In 1998, Stonebridge construction, overbilling, diversion of resources, false documents. I made a full report, with evidence, with testimonies. I was ready to hand it over to the prosecutor's office. But then Daniel graduated. He needed a job, and the owner of Stonebridge made me a proposal. Keep the report, don't say anything, and I will give your son a job. I accepted, because I wanted to help Daniel, because I thought a job in a big company would give him a future. I didn't know it would give him this. I looked at Valerie. Do they know I have documents from that company? Valerie hesitated, then nodded. Yes, that is why they asked me to look for them. They said they were old papers. From your work. That could cause them problems. Problems? Sure. Because if someone found that report, if someone handed it over, the company would fall. And with it, Daniel, and Gustavo, and their families, and their money, and their status. Everything. That is why they needed me quiet. That is why they needed me dead. No, worse. They needed me forgotten, abandoned, without a voice, without importance, a senile old man who represents no threat. And you never found them? Valerie shook her head. Never, Mr. David. I looked everywhere. But if you have them, you hid them very well. I smiled, without joy, because I did have them, and I had hidden them well. Linda helped me. She always knew that someday we would need them. Valerie, why are you telling me this now? She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Because I can't live with the guilt anymore, Mr. David. You are a good man. You don't deserve this. You don't deserve to be used, to be deceived, to be abandoned on Christmas just because they are afraid you will discover something. Her voice broke at the end. I quit. Today. Now. I can't keep working for people like that, even if I need the money, even if my mom is sick. There are things that are not done, and spying on an old man, that is not done. I got up, walked towards her, hugged her. She stayed rigid at first, then she let go, cried on my shoulder, and I let her, because I understood. I understood that she was also a victim, like me. We stayed like that for a few minutes until she calmed down, separated, wiped her face with her hands. Sorry, Mr. David, I didn't mean to. I raised my hand. You don't have to apologize. You did the right thing telling me the truth. She sniffled. Do you hate me? I shook my head. No, I hate the ones who used you. Not you. Valerie took an envelope out of her bag. This is for you. Screenshots of all the messages. of the conversations with your children, of everything, in case someday you need them. I took the envelope. It weighed little, but I felt it weighed tons. Thank you. She walked towards the door. Before leaving, she turned around. Mr. David, one more thing. That photo, there are more photos in the lady's profile from previous years, if you want to see them. She didn't finish the sentence, but I understood. I understood that if I looked, I would find proof of years of lies. When Valerie left, I took out my cell phone, opened Instagram. I don't use that app much, but I have it. I searched for the profile. Remedies Stonebridge. There she was. A woman of about 60. Blonde hair, designer glasses, perfect smile. I entered her profile. Photos of trips, restaurants, parties. I scrolled down, looked for December posts, and I found them. Christmas 2023. A photo similar to this year's. Elegant table, people toasting, and in the background, my children. Christmas 2022. The same. Christmas 2021. There they were. I kept scrolling down. 2020, 2019, 2018. In all of them, in all Christmases. My children were there. While I dined alone, or with Linda, believing they had commitments, believing their lies. I zoomed in on the 2019 photo. Linda was still alive that year. We spent Christmas together. The kids said they would come, but canceled last minute. Dad, Jessica got sick. Better we postpone it. I believed them. Cooked turkey. Linda made her special stuffing. We dined alone. She didn't say anything, but I saw sadness in her eyes. And now, looking at this photo, I understood. She knew. Linda knew they were lying, and she never told me anything. Why? To protect me? To not hurt me? I closed Instagram, left the cell phone on the table, and I stayed there, sitting in the dark, because night had already fallen and I hadn't turned on the lights, sitting among shadows, as I had been for the last 15 years, in the darkness of lies, without knowing it. I looked at the ceiling. The moisture stains seemed bigger in the dark. Linda, I whispered, you knew, and you didn't tell me. Silence, only the hum of the refrigerator, the tick-tock of the clock, the sound of the night entering through the window. 15 years, Linda. 15 years they lied to me, and me like an idiot, waiting, always waiting. I felt rage, but also clarity, because now I understood. I understood why Valerie was looking for documents, why they left me alone on Christmas, why they used my card without asking, why everything, because I was a threat, and threats must be kept controlled, distant, insignificant, and that is what I was to them, insignificant. An old man with dangerous papers who was better kept happy, but not too close, never too close. I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. I stayed sitting in the living room armchair, watching the shadows move on the ceiling every time a car passed on the street. At 3 a.m, I got up. My body hurt. My back. My knees. But there was something that hurt more. The need to know. To understand. I went to the study, that small room at the back of the house where I kept old papers, invoices, receipts, things that Linda said we would need someday. I turned on the light. Oh, the bulb flickered before turning on completely. It smelled of dust, of old paper, of time stopped. I opened the metal filing cabinet, the one I bought in 1983. The drawers squeaked. I searched all the way to the bottom, under blue folders, under yellowed folders, until I touched something hard, a thick folder, brown, with a rubber band around it. I took it out. The rubber band broke when I pulled it. It was dry, old. I put the folder on the desk. I dusted it off with my hand, and there it was, in black letters written with a marker. Stonebridge Audit, 1998. Confidential. I opened the folder. The paper crunched, yellowish, brittle, but legible. Page after page of numbers, of calculations, of evidence, overbilled contracts, works that cost triple the budget, cheap materials reported as premium, payments to public officials, everything documented, everything proven. I turned the pages slowly, remembering. I had spent 6 months investigating this company, 6 months gathering evidence, photos, testimonies, account statements. Everything was there. I was ready to hand over to the prosecutor, but I never did, because they made me an offer. I closed my eyes, and I went back to that day. October 1998. Daniel had just graduated from civil engineering. He was looking for a job, sending resumes everywhere, but nobody hired him. He was depressed, angry at the world. I wanted to help him. One day, the owner of Stonebridge called me Mr. August Stonebridge. Mr. Miller, we have to talk. We met at a restaurant. He arrived in a gray suit, gold watch, shark smile. I know you have a report on my company. I didn't say anything. He continued. I propose something. Keep that report. Don't say anything. And I will give your son a job. Good salary, benefits, future. I looked into his eyes, cold, calculating. You want to buy my silence? He smiled. I want to help a father help his son. And may God forgive me. I accepted. I thought I was protecting Daniel, giving him a chance, a good job that would launch him. I thought that after a few years when he was established, he could change companies, make his own path. But it didn't happen like that. Daniel stayed. He climbed the ranks. He married Paula, the Stonebridge daughter. He became part of them, and I just watched them from afar, proud, thinking that my son had triumphed. I didn't understand that he hadn't triumphed. He had sold himself, like I sold myself that day in the restaurant. I opened my eyes. I looked at the documents on the desk, evidence of corruption, of crimes, and I kept them. I hid them. I protected them for 26 years to protect my son. But now that son had abandoned me on Christmas, used my money, sent a spy to my house. Was that what I protected? I got up. I had never had the courage to check her things thoroughly. Every time I opened that closet, the pain made me close the door. But not this time. I went to Linda's closet. I opened it. Inside were still her dresses, her shoes, her lavender smell that refused to leave. I searched the top shelf, behind the blankets, and I touched something. A box, wooden, not very big. I took it down. It was heavy. It had a small latch, locked with a padlock. But the padlock was open, as if Linda had wanted me to find it easily. I opened the box. Inside was a flash drive, black, small, and stuck on the lid of the box, a yellow post-it note with Linda's handwriting, that round handwriting that I always had to struggle to read. It said, David, if something happens to me, this is for you. I love you. L. I felt a lump in my throat. I took the flash drive. My hands were shaking. I went back to the desk, turned on the computer, inserted the flash drive. A folder appeared. For David. Inside a video file, I double-clicked. The screen went black. Then she appeared. Linda, sitting in this same chair, at this same desk, but different. Thinner, paler, her hair shorter, whiter. It took me a second to place myself, by the clothes she was wearing and the calendar on the wall in the background. This was recorded in October, 2 months before she died. She looked straight at the camera, straight at me. David, she said, and her voice broke me, because it was her voice, the one I missed every night. If you are watching this, it is because I am no longer here, and because you discovered something. She paused, took a deep breath. She looked tired, but her eyes were clear, lucid, decided. Our children know about the documents. My heart stopped. Linda continued. Jessica asked me 4 months ago in June. She arrived one day, alone, without the kids. And she told me, Mom, I need you to tell me where the papers are that Dad kept from Gustavo's company. I asked her, what papers? And she got angry. Don't play dumb, Mom. The audit papers. The ones Dad never handed over. Linda wiped a tear. I told her I didn't know where they were, that you never told me. She didn't believe me. Pause. She came back 2 weeks later, this time with Daniel. The two of them cornered me in the kitchen. Daniel yelled at me. He told me that if I didn't hand over the papers, they were going to sue us, you, that we were going to lose the house, everything. I saw how Linda trembled in the video, and I felt rage. But that wasn't the worst, David. Linda moved closer to the camera. The worst was when Jessica said, Mom, if you don't help us, we are going to have to commit you. The doctor says you have signs of dementia. We can sign the papers. You won't be able to stop it. I felt my blood freeze. Linda in the video was crying, but with rage, with dignity. They threatened me, David. Our daughter threatened to lock me up, to take away my freedom, for some papers. She wiped her tears. And the worst is that Daniel nodded. Both were in agreement. Only Lisa wasn't there. But the other two, our children, threatened me as if I were their enemy. I paused the video. I couldn't continue. I got up, walked in circles, breathed, tried to calm down, but I couldn't. My daughter, my son, threatening their own mother, sick, weak, defenseless. I pressed play again. Linda had regained her composure. I didn't give them anything, David. I told them I didn't know. And after that, they stopped visiting me for 2 months until I got worse. Then they came back, but they didn't ask me for the papers anymore. They just came, looked at me and left. She made a long pause. I don't recognize them anymore, David. I see their faces. I hear their voices. But they are not our children. I don't know who those people are. I don't know what happened to them. Or maybe they were always like that, and we didn't want to see it. She shook her head. I don't know. I only know that I am afraid. Afraid of what they might do to you when I am not here. Because they are going to come back looking for those documents. And this time I won't be there to protect you. Linda leaned towards the camera. That is why I recorded this. So you know the truth. So you understand what kind of people they are. And to ask you something. She wiped her tears. Keep those documents, David. Protect them. Hide them well. Because someday you're going to need them. Not to attack, but to defend yourself. They're going to come back. They're going to pressure you. They're going to manipulate you. And when they do, when you feel you are alone, remember that I left you this. Remember that I knew. Remember that I love you. And that I always trusted you. The video ended. The screen went black. And I stayed there, looking at my reflection in the turned-off monitor, an old man, with tears running down his cheeks, with a broken heart. I closed the laptop. I looked at the documents on the desk, the brown folder, the flash drive, Linda's words resonating. They are going to come back. They are going to pressure you. And I understood. I understood everything. They didn't abandon me on Christmas out of cruelty. They abandoned me because I am a threat. Because as long as I live, as long as I have those documents, they are not safe. Their money is not safe. Their status is not safe. Their future is not safe. I am the only one who can destroy them, and they know it. That is why they isolated me. That is why Valerie was searching my house. That is why they used my card without fear. Because for them, I was already dead. Only the funeral was missing. On December the 27th, Friday, the phone rang at 9 in the morning. I was drinking coffee. Bitter, without sugar. As I liked it before, the doctor told me I had diabetes, but I didn't care anymore. I saw the name on the screen, Jessica. I hesitated. I let it ring 3 times. 4. On the 5th ring, I answered, "Hello?" My voice came out raspy. I had cried so much last night that my throat hurt. "Dad!" Her voice sounded sweet. Too sweet, like poisoned honey. "How are you?" I didn't answer. Silence. She continued, "Dad, please come to lunch on Sunday to my house. We want to fix this. We want to talk, as a family." Family. That word made me laugh, but I didn't laugh. "Will everyone be there?" She hesitated. "Yes, Dad. Everyone. Daniel, Lisa, the kids, everyone." I hung up without saying if I was going or not. Half an hour later, Mr. Thomas knocked on my door. I had told him everything. The documents, Linda's video, the threats, everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he just said, "Go to that lunch." I looked at him surprised. "Why?" He poured himself coffee, sat down. "Because you need to see their faces. You need to hear them lie one more time, so you have no doubt. So when you make your decision, you know it is the right one." He was right, but don't go alone. He looked me straight in the eye. "Take me. I will say I am your friend, that you wanted company. They won't be able to refuse without looking bad." I nodded. "And what are we going to look for?" Thomas smiled, without joy. "The truth. It always comes out. You just have to know how to look." On Sunday, I called Jessica. "I'm coming, but I am bringing a friend." Awkward silence. Then, "Sure, Dad, whatever you want." On Sunday the 29th at 12 noon, Thomas and I arrived in Naperville. The wealthy suburbs, huge houses, high fences, private security. Jessica's house was a white mansion with columns. Perfect garden, fountain in the entrance. Thomas whistled. "Your daughter lives well." Too well, I thought. I rang the bell. A maid opened. "Mr. David, come in." We entered. The living room was huge. Marble floor, Italian furniture, paintings that probably cost more than my house. Jessica appeared. White dress, pearl necklace, perfect smile. "Dad," she hugged me, smelled of expensive perfume. She let go, looked at Thomas. "He is my neighbor, Mr. Thomas." Jessica extended her hand. "Nice to meet you. Come in, please." She took us to the dining room. Daniel was already there, with Paula, Lisa with Matthew. Everyone smiling, everyone acting as if nothing had happened. Lunch was a theater play. Daniel talked about new projects in the company, big contracts, expansion. He spoke with that tone successful people use, full of confidence, of arrogance. Jessica interrupted, "And we are also planning a family trip to Europe in March." She looked at me. "We want you to come, Dad. Paris, Rome, Spain." I nodded, without speaking, just observing. Lisa, the quietest one, suddenly said, "Dad, I'm thinking of moving, closer to you, so we can see each other more often." All eyes, all so obvious, so rehearsed. Thomas ate in silence, but I saw him observing. Every gesture, every word, every look they exchanged between them. Everything was fake, like cardboard sets on a cheap stage. After lunch, Jessica got up. "Dad, will you accompany me for a moment? I want to show you something." I got up. Thomas looked at me. I nodded slightly. I followed Jessica. She took us to her study. A room with wooden shelves. Books she probably never read. A big desk. She closed the door. Her expression changed. The smile vanished. "Dad, I need to ask you something." She sat behind the desk. I remained standing. "What?" My voice came out colder than I expected. She noticed the tone, hesitated, then continued. "Mom left you some documents from your old job." I waited. I didn't say anything. She got nervous. "I need those papers. For a lawyer, it is important." I looked her straight in the eye. "What documents?" Jessica leaned forward. "Dad, don't play dumb." Her tone changed, harder. "The documents from Stonebridge. Mom said you kept them." I feigned confusion. "Your mom told you that? When?" She swallowed. "A while ago, before she died." She was lying. Linda never told her where they were. Only that they existed. "I don't know what you were talking about, honey." I turned around to leave. She got up fast, went around the desk, cut off my path. "Dad, please. It is important. Very important." Her voice rose in volume. "From the Stonebridge Company. Your audit from 1998. I know you have it." I looked at her, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. "What do you need them for?" Jessica closed her eyes, took a deep breath. When she opened them, there were tears, but calculated tears. "Fake. Dad, it doesn't matter what for. Just give them to me." I shook my head. "It does matter. If you want me to give you something, I have to know what for?" She changed tactics. She let herself fall into the chair. Started crying. "They are going to sue us, Dad. Gustavo. Daniel. Everyone. There is an investigation. The prosecutor is reviewing old contracts. And if they find those documents of yours, they are going to take everything from us. The house. The money. They are going to put Daniel in jail. She cried louder. Those documents can save us. We can destroy them, so nobody finds them. Please, Dad. I stayed silent, watching her act, because that is what it was. Acting. Linda was right. I didn't recognize this woman anymore. I don't have anything, I said finally. Jessica stopped crying. She looked at me with pure hate. Lie. She stood up. I know you have them. Mom told me you kept them. Somewhere in the house. She walked towards me. Give me those papers, Dad. She stopped. Or what? I challenged her. She lowered her gaze. Nothing. Just, please. I left the study, went back to the dining room. Daniel was talking on the phone in the hallway. He lowered his voice when he saw me pass, but I managed to hear. Relax. We are going to convince him. Pause. If not, there are other ways. He turned around. He didn't see me standing behind him. Yes, we can declare him incompetent. He is old. He has diabetes. The lawyer said it is easy. I felt my blood freeze. Daniel continued. Once we have guardianship, we can search for whatever we want in his house, legally. I went back to the dining room. Thomas saw my face and got up. I think it is time to go, David. Jessica came out of the study. Dad, wait. We haven't had coffee. Thomas spoke for me. Mr. David doesn't feel well. Better we go. We walked towards the door. Daniel appeared, put the phone away quickly. Old man, leaving already? I didn't answer him. Lisa approached. Dad, sorry. For everything. Really. I looked at her. She was the only one who seemed genuine. But still she had abandoned me. I nodded, without speaking. We left. Got into Thomas's car. We didn't talk until we were far away. When we turned the corner, Thomas said, Did you hear something? I nodded. They want to declare me incompetent. Thomas gripped the steering wheel. Sons of bitches. We arrived at my house. It was 4 p.m. I sat on the sofa. Thomas sat in front of me. What are you going to do? I didn't answer. I didn't know. Thomas continued. David, I know things. Things I haven't told you. I looked at him. What things? He sighed. In 1998, when you did that audit, I was your witness. Do you remember? I blinked, tried to remember. And then yes. Thomas worked at the same firm. He signed some documents. I also kept copies, he said, of everything because I knew someday you would need them. He got up. Give me 2 days. I'm going to look for them. And let's see what we do. He left. I stayed there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Daniel's words. Other ways. That night I didn't sleep. Again. I stayed sitting, thinking, remembering. The threats to Linda, the money stolen from my card, the dinner I paid for myself, the 15 Christmases of lies, the photos, Valerie's messages, the plan to declare me incompetent. Everything, every lie, every betrayal, every blow, and something inside me hardened. It was no longer sadness. It was no longer pain. It was determination. Because I understood what Linda was telling me in that video. She didn't leave me those documents to keep them. She left them for me to use, to defend myself, and that is what I was going to do. But first I needed more proof, more evidence, more weapons. Because if I was going to face them, I had to be sure of winning. I got up, went to the desk, took out the documents, and started reading. Again, this time looking for something specific, something I could use, and I found it. On December 30th, Monday at 10 a.m, I heard the door. Not the doorbell, the door, as if someone pushed it with their shoulder. I went to open it. It was Matthew, alone, without Lisa. The boy had red eyes, swollen. He had cried, a lot. Grandpa! He threw himself into my arms. I lifted him. He weighed more than I remembered. 7 years old, so small, so fragile. What happened, my son? Where's your mom? He shook his head. I ran away. I took the bus Mom always takes, the one that stops in front of your house. I remembered. Mom was talking on the phone. She didn't see me leave. I sat him on the sofa. I knelt in front of him. My knees cracked. Hurt. But I didn't care. What did you hear, Matthew? The boy breathed raggedly. Mom was talking to Aunt Jessica. They said ugly things. I wiped his tears with my thumb. What did they say? Matthew looked at me with those brown eyes that looked so much like Linda's. They said you have papers, important papers, and that if you don't give them to them, they are going to say you are crazy. I felt something tighten in my chest. They said that I'm crazy? Matthew nodded. Yes. Aunt Jessica said if he doesn't give us the documents, we talk to Dr. Elizondo. He can sign the papers. We will say he has dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever. And Mom said, but Jessica, he is our dad. And Aunt Jessica screamed, it is him or us, Lisa. If we don't do something, we are going to lose everything. The boy hugged me. Grandpa, are you crazy? I shook my head. I hugged him tight. No, my boy, I'm not crazy. Matthew cried against my shoulder. Then why do they want to take away your house? I closed my eyes. Because it was easier to rob a demented old man than to face their own crimes. That is what I wanted to tell him. But I couldn't. He was just a child. Don't worry, Matthew. Nobody is going to take anything from me. The boys separated, looked at me. Promise? I nodded. Promise, guardianship. That was the word. Declare me incompetent, legally insane, and thus take control of my house, of my things, of my documents. They could search without my permission, destroy evidence, erase all trace, and I couldn't do anything because I would be locked in some asylum, medicated, quiet, forgotten. It was the perfect plan. And they almost did it to me. Almost. But Matthew had just given me the confirmation I needed. They were no longer assumptions. It was real. My children were conspiring to destroy me. I gave Matthew juice, cookies. I sat him in front of the TV. I dialed Lisa. She answered on the second ring. Dad? Her voice sounded nervous. Matthew is with me. Silence. Then, what? How did he get there? Walking, I imagine. He is fine, but I need you to come. Now. I hung up. I didn't want to talk more with her on the phone. Half an hour later, another visitor arrived, knocked on the door. I opened. It was Camilla, my 16-year-old granddaughter, Daniel's daughter, tall, thin, with black hair tied in a ponytail. She had a backpack on her back, and in her hand an old cell phone, one I recognized immediately. Grandpa! She entered fast, looked around, as if she was afraid someone had followed her. Camilla, what are you doing here? Do your parents know you came? She shook her head. No. And they can't know? She closed the door, took the cell phone out of her pocket. Grandpa, I found this. In the drawer of Dad's desk. It was hidden. Under some papers. She handed me the cell phone. It was Linda's old iPhone. The one she used before I bought her a new one 4 years ago. I thought she had thrown it away. Your dad had this? Camilla nodded. Yes. I found it by accident. I was looking for a stapler and there it was. I turned on the cell phone. It still had battery. I opened the messages, and what I saw broke my soul again. Conversations between Linda and a name. Lawyer Odelio. I opened the chat, the months before Linda died. Linda. Lawyer, I need legal advice. It is about my daughter Jessica. Reply. Tell me, Mrs. Miller. Linda. She has been taking money from our accounts, without permission, small amounts, but constant. I kept scrolling down. More messages. The lawyer asking for details. Linda sending screenshots of account statements. Unauthorized transfers. Strange withdrawals. The lawyer. Ma'am, this is fraud. We can proceed legally. Linda. I don't want to put my daughter in jail. I just want her to stop. But there was one last message from the lawyer. Ma'am, I prepared the documents. If you sign, we can sue for misappropriation. There was no reply from Linda. That was the last conversation. I left the cell phone on the table, looked at Camilla. "Did you read this?" She nodded. She had tears in her eyes. "Yes, Grandpa. I read it all, and I can't believe it. Grandma was going to sue my aunt, her own daughter." She sat on the sofa, covered her face with her hands. "And now I understand why Grandma was always sad, why she cried when she thought nobody saw her. Because she knew. She knew her children were betraying her." I sat next to her, put my hand on her shoulder. "Camilla, why did you bring me this?" She lowered her hands. She looked at me with those eyes that looked so much like her grandmother's. "Because it is not right, Grandpa. What they are doing is not right. And I don't want to be like them." At 3 p.m, my cell phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Mr. David?" It was a young voice, male. I took a second to recognize it. "Ethan?" The server from the Christmas dinner. "Yes, sir. Sorry to bother you, but I investigated something and I think you should know." I put the phone on speaker. "Tell me." Ethan took a deep breath. "I have a friend. He works at the anti-corruption prosecutor's office. I told him about you, about the dinner, and he told me something important." Pause. "The Stonebridge Company is being investigated. For 6 months. For irregular contracts, bribes, diversion of public funds." I felt my heart accelerate. "And what does that have to do with me?" Ethan continued. "My friend says they need proof, old documents from previous audits, to prove that this comes from years ago, and I told him that maybe you had something." Silence. Long. Heavy. "Mr. David, if you have documents from that company, the prosecutor needs them. They can be the key to closing the case." I looked at the documents on the desk, the brown folder, the evidence from 1998. "Is your friend trustworthy?" I asked. "Yes, sir. Totally. He is honest. One of the few." I nodded, even though Ethan couldn't see me. "Tell him to come, tomorrow, here to my house. Have him bring what he needs to verify the documents." I heard the surprise in his voice. "Really, Mr. David? Really?" I hung up. Camilla was looking at me. "Grandpa, are you going to hand over the documents?" I looked at her. "I'm going to do what your grandmother asked me to do. Defend myself." She smiled. For the first time in years, I saw pride in the eyes of someone in my family. Real pride. At 5 p.m, there was a knock on the door. It was Mr. Thomas. He brought a cardboard box, heavy. He left it on the table with a dull thud. "David, I told you I kept copies." He opened the box. Inside were folders, documents, photos, everything organized, everything labeled. "Do you remember 1998, when we did the audit together?" I nodded, vaguely. There had been so many cases, so many companies. I signed as a witness, as secondary auditor, and I kept everything because I knew. He looked at me. "I knew that someday Mr. August Stonebridge was going to try to erase you. You. The evidence. Everything." He took out a folder, opened it. "Here are the signatures, mine, yours, the official seals. This cannot be denied. It cannot be destroyed, because there are 2 copies, yours and mine." I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. "Why didn't you ever tell me you had this?" Thomas smiled. "Because I hoped you would never need it. But here we are." At 6 p.m, the last one arrived. Lawyer Odelio, Linda's lawyer, a man of 61 years, bald, with thick glasses, wrinkled gray suit, old leather briefcase. He entered, greeted with a firm handshake, sat down, opened his briefcase, took out a folder. "Mr. David, Linda came to see me 3 years ago, 2 months before dying." He put the folder on the table. "She left me very clear instructions. If any of her children tried to declare you incompetent, if they tried to take away your house, if they tried anything, I was to act." He opened the folder. Inside were legal documents. "This is a power of attorney, signed by Linda, in my favor, to represent you legally in case you couldn't do it." He showed me the signature. It was Linda's. I recognized her handwriting. "And this." He took out another document. "It is an affidavit, From Linda, stating that you are in full mental faculties. Signed before a notary. Dated 3 years ago. I looked at all the documents on my table. The audits, Thomas's copies, Linda's messages on the cell phone, the lawyer's statements, the testimonies of Camilla and Matthew. And I understood. Linda prepared everything. She knew this was going to happen. She knew our children would try to destroy me, and she left me the weapons to defend myself. Not only the company documents, but legal protection, witnesses, allies, everything. I looked at Thomas, at Odelio, at Camilla sitting on the sofa, at Matthew watching TV, at Ethan waiting on the other end of the phone, and I realized I wasn't alone. Linda made sure of that. She left me an army, small but loyal. And now it was time to use it. Lawyer, I said, prepare everything. Tomorrow we make our move. Odelio smiled. What do you have in mind, Mr. David? I looked at him. I'm going to a party. New Year's Eve. December 31st, New Year's Eve. At 8 at night, I got dressed. The same blue Christmas suit, freshly washed. Ironed, white shirt, black tie. I looked in the mirror. I was no longer the same man who waited for his children sitting at an empty table. This man had purpose, had direction, had contained rage. Thomas arrived at 8:30, also in a suit. Ready? I nodded. I took the brown folder, the same one from the audit, heavy, full of truths. Ready? Camilla and Matthew stayed at home, with Valerie, who had returned. Not as an employee, but as a friend. We got into Thomas's car. He drove in silence. Naperville, the illuminated streets, houses decorated for the new year. We arrived at the Stonebridge mansion. The party had already started. Music, lights, luxury cars lined up on the street. We got out of the car, walked towards the entrance. There was a security guard, young, burly, black suit, earpiece in his ear. He stopped us. Good evening, name? I planted myself in front of him. David Miller. I am Jessica Miller's father. The guard checked a list on his tablet, shook his head. You are not on the list, sir. Thomas intervened. We are family. We don't need to be on the list. The guard didn't move. I am sorry. Only those on the list enter? I took out my cell phone, dialed Jessica. She answered on the third ring. Loud music in the background. Dad? I yelled so she could hear me. I'm at the door. Your security won't let me in. Silence. Then, Dad, what are you doing here? I came to the party. Are you going to let me in, or do I tell the guard you are kicking me out? More silence. Finally, I'm coming down. She hung up. 5 minutes later, Jessica appeared. Red dress, perfect makeup, but pale face. She looked at me, looked at Thomas, looked at the folder in my hands. Dad, this is a private party. I am your father, Jessica. Are you going to let me pass or not? She hesitated, then signaled the guard. Let them pass. We entered the bar. Waiters with trays of champagne. Elegant people everywhere. Jessica walked next to me, whispering, Dad, what do you want? I didn't answer her, kept walking. Towards the main hall, the double doors were open. Inside there were easily 100 people. Live jazz music, a band in a corner, long table with food, bar, and in the background, at the main table, the Stonebridge family. Mr. August, his wife Remedios, and next to them, my 3 children, Daniel, Lisa, and Jessica's husband, Gustavo. I walked towards them. People moved out of my way. Some looked at me curiously, others surprised. Thomas was behind me, firm, like a bodyguard. We arrived at the main table. Daniel saw me first, and he got up so fast he knocked over his glass. The wine spilled on the white tablecloth. Dad? His voice came out strangled. Lisa covered her mouth with her hand. Gustavo, Jessica's husband, tried to smile. Mr. David, what a surprise. Mr. August Stonebridge looked at me, 75 years old. White hair, impeccable suit, gold watch. He looked at me as if I were an insect. Mr. Miller, I didn't expect to see you here. I smiled, without joy. I imagine not. I put the brown folder on the table, right between the plates of food. The dull noise made everyone turn around. The hall began to fall silent. The music continued, but conversations died down. Mr. August looked at the folder, then at me. What is this? I didn't answer yet. I looked at my children, one by one. Daniel with a red face, Jessica trembling, Lisa with tears in her eyes. This, I said finally, is the truth. I opened the folder, took out the first document, the cover of the audit, Stonebridge Audit, 1998, overbilling and diversion of public funds. I put it on the table. Mr. August turned pale. Mr. Miller, is this the audit you asked me to keep? I finished the sentence for him. Yes, the same one. I took out more papers. Contracts, fake invoices, irregular transfers. In 1998, I discovered that your company was diverting millions. Public works that cost 3 times more than budgeted. Cheap materials reported as premium. Bribes to officials. I put every document on the table, like poker cards. I was going to hand this over to the prosecutor, but you made me an offer. Silence in exchange for my son's future. I looked at Daniel. I thought I was giving him a chance. A dignified job. A career. I shook my head. But what I did was sell him. Because you didn't give him a job. You recruited him. You made him an accomplice. You taught him to be like you. Daniel opened his mouth. Dad, Shut up. My voice came out like a whip. He closed his mouth. And my daughters... I looked at Jessica, then at Lisa. My daughters used me, robbed me, abandoned me on Christmas, paid for my own dinner with my money, and then toasted here, with you, while I waited for them alone. My voice broke at the end, but I didn't cry. I had no more tears. You thought I was weak? That I was just a stupid old man? That I would forget? That I would forgive just because you are my blood? I took out the last document, Linda's power of attorney, the affidavit. But my wife, your mother, your grandmother, she knew. She knew what you were going to do, and she protected me. I put the documents on the table. You tried to declare me incompetent, send me to a nursing home, take away my house, search for these documents. I hit the folder, but you failed, because Linda left me weapons, witnesses, legal protection, and above all, she left me the truth. The hall was completely silent. Even the music had stopped. 100 pairs of eyes watching, some horrified, others fascinated, as if they were watching a movie. But this was real, terribly real. Mr. August tried to stand up. Mr. Miller, this is ridiculous. You cannot... Cannot what? I interrupted him. Expose the truth? Defend my name? Protect myself from my own children? I leaned over the table, face to face with him. These documents are already with the prosecutor, certified copies handed over this morning, along with the proofs kept by Mr. Thomas, my witness from 26 years ago. Thomas stepped forward, nodded, and along with new testimonies, from employees, from contractors, from people you trampled on for years. Mr. August let himself fall into his chair. Remedios, his wife, covered her mouth. Gustavo looked at the documents as if they were venomous snakes, because they were venomous for them. I straightened up. I looked at my 3 children. You will ask me why I came here, why I ruined this party, why I exposed you in front of everyone. I paused, because I wanted you to feel what I felt when you left me alone on December 24th. When I discovered you used my card, when I learned you had been lying to me for 15 years, I wanted you to feel shame, humiliation, betrayal. Jessica was crying. Daniel had his head down. Lisa looked at me with pleading eyes. But I didn't care anymore. You chose. You chose money over me, status over family, lies over love. I took the folder, closed it. Now I choose too. I choose you, out of my life. The silence was sepulchral. I could hear my own breathing, my own heart beating. I took an envelope out of the inside pocket of my jacket, put it on the table. This is a copy of everything for you, so you know exactly what the prosecutor has. I looked at Mr. August. You will decide if you want to save your company or save your lies. If you cooperate with the investigation, maybe, just maybe, you can reduce your sentence. I turned around, started walking towards the exit. Thomas next to me. Dad, wait! It was Lisa. She ran after me, took me by the arm. Dad, please, I am sorry, really. I looked at her. I saw the girl she was. The one who played in the garden. The one who asked me to read her stories. But that girl no longer existed. Lisa, you had 1,000 opportunities to choose, to be on my side, to tell the truth, but you always chose them. I let go of her grip. Now live with that choice. I kept walking, left the mansion. The cold December air hit my face. I breathed deep. Free. Outside, next to Thomas's car, they were waiting. Ethan, Luke, Valerie, Camilla, Matthew, and lawyer Odelio. All there, all smiling. Matthew ran towards me. I lifted him. My back hurt, but I didn't care. Is it done, Grandpa? He asked. I nodded. It is done, son. Camilla hugged me. I'm proud of you, Grandpa. Valerie had tears in her eyes. Mr. David, you are the bravest man I know. Thomas gave me a pat on the back. Well done, David. Linda would be proud. I looked at the sky. The stars were shining, clear, beautiful. Thank you, Linda, I whispered, for protecting me until the end. We left all together, in the cars, towards my house to wait for the new year, not with blood, but with family. True family, the one I chose and the one that chose me. I spent the new year with who chose to be with me, not by blood. By true love, we toasted at midnight. Ethan, Luke, Valerie, Thomas, lawyer Adelio, Camilla, Matthew, everyone laughing, everyone together, in my living room, in my house that no longer felt empty. My children called me later, Jessica first, crying, asking for forgiveness. I listened to her but didn't answer. Daniel sent messages, many saying he didn't know, that they forced him. More lies. I deleted them. Lisa came to the house 3 days later, knocked on the door. I let her in. We talked. She cried. She said she wanted to change, that she wanted to win me back. I told her forgiveness is earned, not asked for. She still comes, every week, with Matthew, little by little, maybe, just maybe. Someday I will trust again, because forgiving is not forgetting. Forgiving is choosing not to carry the weight of resentment anymore. But it is not going back to how it was before either. Some things break and don't glue back. They are just accepted, broken. And family? Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who stays when everything falls, when there is no money, when there is no prestige, when only you remain, and they choose to stay. That is family. Today I am 79 years old, a house that smells of coffee and people who visit me, grandchildren who hug me for real, friends who are brothers, and documents that are no longer my burden, but my defense. The investigation continues. Stonebridge is in trouble. Daniel lost his job. Jessica sold her mansion. Consequences arrived, as they always arrive, sooner or later. The truth comes out, and when it comes out, it doesn't forgive. And you? Were you ever betrayed by who should have protected you? Did you have to choose between forgiving and freeing yourself? Between blood and dignity? Tell me down below. Your story matters. Because maybe someone else needs to hear it. Maybe someone else is going through the same thing, and your testimony can save them. If this story touched your heart, leave us your like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Every day we share real stories. Stories of pain, of betrayal, but also of liberation. The next one could be yours or someone you know. Thanks for listening until the end. See you in the next story.